Morning, let's call the meeting to order. This is Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. Yay. And this is the meeting of the Sandpoint Arts, Culture, and Historic Preservation, and we're now called to order. For the record, I am Chairwoman Ellie Susness, presiding in the City Council chambers in City Hall, 123 Lake Street in Sandpoint, Idaho. Commission members that are present are Barry Burgess.
Here.
Carol Diener. Bill Valentine.
Here.
Kate McAllister.
Here.
Keely Gray.
Here.
Rick Decker.
Here.
Mike Lithgow is on Zoom.
Here.
And Caitlin Schick is absent. And also joining us is Heather Upton, our staff liaison, and Justin Dick, our council liaison. So welcome, everybody. All right, so let's move on to the meeting minutes approval. I would love to see a motion for the December 10th, 2024 minutes. Kate McAllister has moved. Is there a second?
Decker seconds.
All right, Rick is seconded. All in favor? Let's do a roll call starting with Kate. Aye. Rick Decker.
Aye.
Bill Valentine.
Aye.
Burgess. Carol Diener. Aye. Any opposed? None heard. Motion passed. All right. Moving on to the financial report. Heather, can you let us know what's happening there?
Yes, absolutely. So we've had a couple of cancellations with Sura. So we have financials from the November 21st meeting, which I had presented this last time at the December 3rd meeting as well. So in the arts downtown, we have $191,163.73. In Northern, we have $104,076.18. And the figures of the silver box are not accurate because we have provided stipends for this last silver box cycle. But from this date, we had $18,315.22 for the advancement of that project. And then the remainder of November 21st was $16.84.68.
Awesome. Are there any questions on that? Let's move on then. We're going to bump up number 10 to number 3. Introduction of new commissioners, Carol Diener and Will Valentine. Welcome. So good to have you here.
So, Carol, you have, I mean, you're so well known in the community. Is there really even need for an induction? But you've been in the arts world for so long here, such a leader, and we're so excited that you're here.
I'm excited to be back on this committee. A long time ago, Kate, and our mayor was in charge of us that time. I remember Kate a long time ago. He was, oh yeah, anyway, so anyway, it's nice to be here. I'm glad to represent Sandpoint again, and
Thank you.
And Will?
You want me to tell you a little bit about myself, because I don't know. I know who some of you are, like Justin and Kate, Heather and Barry, but I think you don't know anything about me.
So Will's actually representing the museum and the seat, and also, of course, an advisor. But yes, tell us a little bit.
So I came to Bonner County in 2001. My wife and I came back to the US and went on a trip around the West to see where we wanted to retire. And we came in the middle of December and loved it because we found people friendly. We went to Connie's for our meals and we stayed in the K2. That's pretty Sandpointian. So when we finally came in 2004, I immediately joined the Historical Society because I wanted to know what kind of place I was declaring as my new home. And I think that's something that we forget, that museum is a great place to cultivate people. And we need to get newcomers in there. My big interest in joining was the railroad and streetcars, because I've written about them privately, both on that topic. Railroad's been great. I know a lot about the railroads here. Streetcars, the historical information is missing, the business records and all that. So I have a lot of information that we've accumulated. It's not very exciting. I became a volunteer fireman for 3 years. I live on Bottle Bay. Spent 11 years working at the Bottle Bay Sewer District as the secretary treasurer. And I noticed, well, and since then, I have been museum since 2004. And I used to be the young person. And I had all these elder people around me who knew the Sandpoint history. And as time has gone on, I am the third longest person there now and the longest board member. People come to me and ask for Sandpoint history, and I've only been here 20 years. So I've had to learn everything from scratch, if you will. I can't hang memories on when I was young here, like other people can do. I have to try to get it. I'm not very good with dates. I can get things within a decade usually. And I know quite a bit about Sandpoint and Bonner County, and I'm forgetting it now about as fast as I learn it. So I did notice that one of the screens that you had on the December meeting, I think it was Heather's, with this sort of a center thing with all these things going out in different directions. And one of them was the Parsons photo collection. And I was surprised my name wasn't mentioned, because that is what I am doing now at the museum. So I'm actually doing something that's on your list of things to do, and it has been a chore. I've been working on it at least 3 months. And the problems are horrendous. I've solved the equipment problems finally, I think, because the museum doesn't have any money to go spend on really good scanners. And most everything we're talking about is negatives or slides. So there are digital versions of the great pictures that we all see around, like around this building. But I think the treasures are in black and white negatives, and there's tons of them. And then there are tons of slides and tons of color negatives, the kind that we used to do before we had cameras, the digital. You go down to Walmart and you get back this package and you open it up and there's 6 strips, 36. And we used to, you may remember, took one picture below the setting, one picture above the setting, and one on the setting to get one picture. And it's going to take forever to go through those. We have solved the equipment problem thanks to ImageMaker. And I've been solving the black and white problem, because you don't want to spend money to go make contacts every one of those pictures. So I've got to come up with a way to take a very low res picture of the black and white negative, and it automatically turns it into a black and white and black picture. So we can tell what is it about and whether we want to keep it. So we sort of got to that point. And the next thing that's happened is, we don't know, 20,000, maybe more. And how do we organize it?
Well, we'll certainly look forward to diving in and supporting you in that great effort. I know that the museum, we kind of acted as a connector in finding that and then presenting that great gift to the museum, but that's when the work starts, right? So we'll put all of our minds together and figure out the success of putting it with a great bow together.
Do I have time to say a couple
Sure.
things? So I also noticed that there's some efforts to try to document old houses and things like that. And I wanted to tell you that I have started unbeknownst to what you're doing, about a 1960s, very large map of Sandpoint. Dan Evans and I are trying to locate every gas station, because boy, there were a lot of gas stations. We don't realize how many there were. And every neighborhood grocery store, because those were the days that you would walk to your grocery store. And it's already got all the schools on it, and I want to put the churches on it. And so grocery stores, gas stations, anything else we can think of. So I don't know how that fits into what you're doing, whether we're working against each other or I can help with that. The other thing that has been really exciting to me was we found that there was an hunting trip here in 1885. And we have a lot of information on it. We got pictures. This is out of a diary that a very wealthy man back in Brooklyn invited his friends. They came by train in one of those, cars with all the luxury items. And they shot out the windows and things, it was just like in a movie. And they were on their way to Priest Lake, but they stopped in Sandpoint. We've got pictures we've never seen. They're very nice pictures. We've colorized them, which is stunning. But the wonderful thing is there's been a picture there. We had a hell of a time trying to figure out where it was. It's got 2 Native Americans, some horses, and a barn behind it. And we're about 99% sure it's the location is where the McFarland house is today. So it was there before. And now it's color, so it really looks great. My personal interest is, I've always been interested in the Chautauqua. And Sandpoint has quite a history in Chautauqua. We put on an exhibit years ago out at the museum. I think that's an important part of our history that needs to be emphasized. And another thing that I've worked on is the Sandpoint that never was. And you guys may know this, I didn't. 1920s, we just found it in our archives. Archives have so many things we don't know what's in there. A blueprint for Lakefront Park done in 1920 by a Spokane architecture. It looks like Disneyland. It's hard to read. It's like a copy of a copy of a copy, but it's got lakes and trails in this area and that area. And I don't know how it was supposed to fit down there. And that's fascinating, but they never built that. The dam that was supposed to be on Sand Creek, the hospitals that we've got aerial photos of the foundations, but they were never built. And then the big hotel that was modeled after, looks like the Canada. It's that southwestern architecture, that sort of non-Idaho mountain architecture. And this was in the 1930s, and all the big wigs contributed money. We have the floor plans and the blueprint, the artist's sketch of it. And it was going to be at the northeast corner of 2nd and Cedar, where that gas station eventually was, and it became a flower shop. And I'm not sure what it is today, but that's where this is going to be. It was going to be the biggest, best hotel in the Panhandle. We have a lot of information on it. So Dan and I are working, trying to come up with a really good list of things that didn't happen. I don't know if I find that interesting.
that is
So
cool.
fun.
And it just shows that Sandpoint's always been ambitious, they were not.
Yeah, well,
make
that
it
was going to
happen,
be
you
a
know?
destination, and this is in the 1930s. So that's me.
Excellent. Well, welcome. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I was so lucky to be able to work with Will over a decade, and he would be the first person I would go and sit down with to share something interesting about history, because I think we both light up at that really high caliber. And not only do you have such a deep, comprehensive knowledge of history and the museum, you also are so creative too. So we're so excited to
I
have
don't
all
claim
of your
that.
talent.
That's Heather getting me to do things.
You got to research our building, I think,
Yeah.
too. I think that's where Remember that name?
It's a secret.
Yeah.
So it's sterling to have both of you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's great things ahead of us.
All right. Well, let's move on then to commission business. First up, arts. Let's have an update on the rehabilitation of the totem pole.
So just as a reminder, this is a project that came to us. Curtis Summerfield wanted to rehabilitate the totem pole that was in front of community hall being smothered by a aggressive arborvitae. I almost called it an arborvitae. And so we went through, he presented it to the commission and we went through the process of approving the rehabilitation of it. And he did a beautiful job. You can see there he is right there. It's actually installed in Community Hall. They built a beautiful base for it and revitalized all of the colors, and it is original to the piece. They also put a plaque on it talking about the rehabilitation. It says, Totem Pole Restoration Relocation Eagle Project by Curtis Summerfield, Troop 308, December 1st, 2024. And in addition to that, I worked with Curtis on putting together this interpretive sign that will be placed right beside it, going through all of the details. And the installation process for this sign will be just some 3M on the wood, so nothing hurts the historic logs. And it was really fun reading a little bit more about the article that Curtis discovered in 1977, which helped him understand that Delmar Wood was the original harbor. And through that article, I found out that Delmar parked many for the community, but he also had a few of them at the Spokane Expo in 1974, which I felt was fantastic. And I was able to find a photo of the totems at the expo during that time period. So there was like a huge kind of interesting shift going on with the Native American craft. And there was a quote that I was able to derive out of it. Delmar Wood says he feels they are a beautiful way to express himself. His interest in American Indian lore and the Indians' creative way of expression inspired him to try his hand at woodcraft when he was 16 years old and living in Hope. So I thought that that was a really powerful way to kind of tie that all together. And then unfortunately, from the newspaper archives, it's a little hard to see, but Delmar is there at 16 years old with that totem, and there is Curtis around the same age. So it's just kind of that goosebump moment, right? I felt like the universe brought all of that together. So it's been a really fun project, and I'm grateful to Curtis for doing this as an Eagle Scout project. So we're officially closed out of that. I signed the paperwork with him on the project, and he submitted his volunteer waiver sheet, and so we're good to go. I'll just go ahead and put this up at Community Hall.
Thank you for heading that up. That's so amazing.
Maybe.
I'm so glad. And he's such a great kid. All right, any questions? All right, let's move on to the next update, which is the Big Belly Monster Art Program.
Hey, so just as a reminder on this program, we have been so lucky to have STCU as a wrap sponsor. They've wrapped our utility boxes throughout the community, and we were looking for another curious object to wrap, and we all decided to go forward with a program called the Big Belly Monsters, where we have two Big Belly Monster trash cans downtown. And we presented this idea to STCU to have those two wrapped with the image of a monster. And part of the criteria will be that the monster's mouth has to open. And we've also included two artist stipends at $150 each. And Ellie put together this really great sheet that's in front of all of you here. And I can pull it up as well. So we were thinking that we were kind of noodling around the idea of the best way to do this program, and just gonna dive into my archives here. So we have worked with the school districts before, and especially with Traverse Park when we did the dream playgrounds. And that's always a lot of fun, but thinking about how we can really make a broader reach to the whole community, we came up with this idea of doing like a coloring contest, which I think is a little bit more equitable to anyone that wants to participate. Ellie, this is amazing, by the way. Like, so these are just some thoughts, and
Yes.
open to ideas, but like ages 4 to 12.
So these rules that are on the page, I just pulled off the internet, so this is all open to discussion. This is obviously just the first draft, so any ideas anybody has for updating the rules or any of that, let's do it.
So what we'll do is we can have these sheets of paper at key places in the community, and parents can go and pick them up, or children, obviously, with their guardian, and put this together. And then they have to come into City Hall and submit it. And then there'll be like a deadline date. And I'll work with our procurement department on how this will look. Essentially, it will be an RFP. So we'll just be like an art call. And then we'll also come up with a selection panel, which I believe would be like STCU members of the up there, and then you guys will put that together. We'll come up with, of course, our criteria, and then we'll go from there. So, any conversation feedback about this?
Did you design the big belly that's at the top, or is?
No, that, I don't know.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I think that's a really cool little logo. Rayon, is that what you want to use?
Yes, they can, the kids can design it on this sheet and then we'll interpret it
Okay,
to go on the
but
back.
your media is going to be, how do you propose to maintain that?
Oh, that's just for designing the plan is just for designing this.
Then you're gonna have somebody paint it.
Yeah, we'll interpret it graphically for the wrap.
Yeah, it would be, sorry
Just
about
like
that.
we have-
That's a key thing. It will be a vinyl wrap with an anti-graffiti laminate over it, just like the utility boxes. And I've gotten all of the quotes from the different local printers, and if we're gonna go with the lowest bid, but we've had some really great competitive bids come in with some wonderful local printers, and I've talked to them, and Ellie has too, and they felt like the way to break it up into different panels, they can easily take whatever is on there and then translate that and be able to wrap that onto the boxes.
Perhaps it's come a long way.
Yes, definitely.
Well, yeah, we used to have to go out of town even to get
Yeah.
anyone to print. And now we have quite a few in town that can do the job at a decent price.
I think it's a great project for kids.
Yeah, I just imagine, my child being a winner, let's say, and walking
Come on.
by I know, not that that's gonna happen.
Yeah, right.
But walking by that can and being like, Mom, like, look at my art, like, it's right there, and it will have their name on it, and then they, like, $150 for a youngster is like, that's some hot cash.
That's like the alley.
Yeah.
It's like the alley.
Right, yeah.
Opportunity for kids to walk down the alley,
Yeah.
because they bring their parents and they say, when I was in school, I did this 5 years ago, whatever.
So what do you guys think about the idea of putting it out to the community as a whole, as opposed to diving in to the schools? Because I think that logistically, it's gonna take longer if we go through, say, Kaleidoscope or talking with the art teachers who are spread thin anyway. Whereas if we just set on social media, much like the community input that we had on the plows, you know, parents can come pick it up or find it at, said, our local pickup spots. What's your thoughts on that?
Is it something that could be sent via like a newsletter that you guys have with the city so that you could just send it out to whoever's on the newsletter list?
Yes,
That's a great idea,
Cammy,
'cause it
I'm
is
gonna
a
sign
big-
you up already, but you'll distribute it through Parks and Recreation, which goes out to all the schools too, in their community resource flyers, so we'll be able
yeah.
to gather it that way, but yeah, it will be on our website, and we'll really push this out, you know, through social media.
There's a lot of kids things that she's doing now on her document that she sends out. So there'll be adults also who might say, oh, that'd be great for my kid to do. I'll talk to my kid about it. So give you information for adults as well as children, younger children. She could actually do one.
I know. I'm
And what
gonna
do
go
you-
in and teach.
So
I'm sorry I'm on this committee. You're looking at me years ago, my love. I'll keep my mouth shut, Tam.
So what do you think about the 4 to 12 years? Or should we limit that even more or extend it?
I like
it.
I-
Twelve's a good age.
All right, and the child must be a city of Sandpoint resident. What do you think about that? What about the multiple entries? That was on the thing that I took this from, but I wasn't sure what you guys were gonna feel about that.
It's great. I mean, because, you know, kids have many ideas in their brain and
Right.
I think it's fabulous. Gives them an opportunity to explore all kinds of things.
Can we go back to the standpoint of city resident?
Sure.
I mean, do we have to be a Sandpoint resident to be on this commission?
Not with this commission. This commission is aligned with making sure that we are in alignment with the Department of Interior Secretary of Standards. That's a larger goal. But traditionally, a lot of the commissions have had just one or two seats that are not within the city.
Yeah, and planning and zoning, I believe that doesn't necessarily need to be a city resident. But then now with children, we're restricting to just within city limits. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out.
No,
there.
I get what you're saying because a lot of the kids that potentially might go to like Washington or Farm and Sidwell, or, you know, they would participate in town for a lot of things, like parents work
Okay.
in town, like, so maybe
Like
Bonner
across
County.
the long
Yeah, I
bridge.
think Bonner
Yeah.
County's good.
You wanna
You
do
like
that?
Bonner County?
There may be a teacher at Farm and Stidwell who picks this up and has a class. So that's an opportunity for kids who don't live here.
Yeah, and then maybe, you know, we could include Ponderay and we could include kiddos.
Yeah.
You know, I was a North Side kiddo. Country kid. Like to be involved in
Well, that's another, north side's a phenomenal school, and if somebody picks this up, like, you know, if the bioscope teacher, because we teach in every school now, she may, if she has time, she may want to pick up on this, or else give it to the class teacher and say, would you like to do this with your kids? Because some of the teachers help participate in the projects, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll run, of course, the
Yeah.
final by my leadership. And so, you know, just know that there's always that adjustment that would be made according to their larger vision of
These would be our
These projects,
recommendations, but
yes.
they'll have the final say. Okay.
exactly. But yeah, no, that definitely makes sense.
Okay. All right, and the dates probably will change depending on what works for
I think
staff.
that's a great start though, yeah.
Same thing with the drop off of the submission, so that will be flexible at this point. Submitting the picture, grant City of Sandpoint permission to post it online or anywhere if we want to have a display. And then submission must have child's name and age, and then the parents' info on the back. 2 submissions will be selected. So is there anything else we need to add to that? Thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys. I'm sorry, I've got another meeting I've got to catch here.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk later.
I think just putting the sponsorship information on there would be the only other thing
Okay.
that is program sponsored by STCU.
The text on the, because this is what they're actually drawing on, right?
Yeah.
I just take the text, shrink the, maybe
Shrink the
not do.
text.
You were reading my mind, because like when I was
The
thinking
eyes.
about drawing the mouth, I was like, but I can't. go
Yeah.
Around it.
Yeah,
Maybe gray.
I'll
And,
gray it out.
yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
we-
like this part right
we
here,
put
it's
that
gonna
up
be
in the
the-
criteria that the math has to open, and then we put all of the defining sides on the bottom down below. So there's actually a blank palette to work off of. And then I think we should submit this to like the Big Belly Company and be like, look at how amazing we
Great.
This
you
is so
have-
great, Ellie, thank you.
If this is open to the county, you may have 400,
That's the.
and how will they be selected?
Well, I
What are we
guess, that-
talking?
yeah, that's a good question. Do you guys want that many submissions, or was that the reasoning of Sandpoint City residents?
And who's
Like
doing,
limiting it.
who's doing the review?
Well, that's something we need to figure out, is who will be the selection committee. I imagine like you guys and then a couple of people from STCU, like maybe they do the final and then we bring it down to 12 or something like.
Eve, did you guys get for the, forgive me if you said this information at one of our last meetings, for the snowplow, how many submissions did you guys
About
have?
50.
Is that a happy number, or would you like, what did you have liked more?
More would be great. I meant to get out to do more outreach, get farmers market and stuff, but it ended up not working out. So
So you wanted more?
yeah,
Okay,
the more the better, I think.
okay, cool. No, that's, I think that's where Rick and I were.
Yeah.
When I did the outreach for Travers and I did 4 schools, I think there were over, and then Washington had a couple of combined classrooms, but there were over 150
Oh, yeah.
submissions. And that was kind of cool because we.
Count them all.
It's not an easy stand too. Those were big, weren't they?
They were.
2 traps.
That taped it together.
So, I mean, that kind of gives you a little bit of a number to think about. That's 4 schools. So if it does go out to the schools and like a what if, teachers really kind of cling on to this idea and they take it to the classroom, which we certainly can have those conversations about, organically. And let them know, like, this is what we're doing. Feel free to, make it a part of any program that you have going on. And then they just have to traditionally like submit it to us. It could be pretty big.
Has the city ever had a problem with too much involvement? Like,
That's a great.
I was waiting for your face.
No.
I mean,
Yeah,
before a decision's made.
I think the show, in terms of like, input for planning, and you two would probably hold the history, certainly, but within arts. But it's always been like the dog parks that have the biggest feedback.
Oh,
community.
I don't know, yeah.
So I think, again, these are all like pilot projects and we're kind of figuring out what works best for this community and what we can do organically without having to do our call for art through a national company and to keep our costs low and in-house. So
I say-
yeah.
Yeah, I say we try Bonner County and see what we can see. Definitely we'll have the information and we can kind of, figure out from the data what our level of participation ends up being. And then use that, of course, for next time.
Should we talk about suggested locations and different organizations we can target? Maybe make a quick list.
Where would we have this information ready to go for the public to pick up?
Creations is a good
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
If you create a flyer that says not an LPOSD activity, they'll let me send it to each principal at
Oh,
each school,
okay.
and then they share it through their electronic newsletters.
Thank you, Cami.
Is there a reason that we limited it to the downtown area?
Yes, so SGCU wanted to know exactly where these 2 boxes are going to be located. So I picked 2 locations downtown that were very visible. One is in front of the Abbott Block right on Bridge in First, and then the other one is in front of the Canada. So it's like a block away. So they're spread out, but they're together. And I just thought that those two locations would bring a lot of great vitality downtown.
Will there be something on the trash can that mentions STCU?
Yes. We just updated our sponsorship policy here at the city, so we can go ahead and do that. And that's part of the reason why this project was put on pause.
Does the city have any plans for producing more of these, locating them?
So we own two, as I understand it, the city does. And then I believe it is a lease program. I'm not 100% sure on that. So opportunities for wraps in general in the next meeting coming up. I have another signal box that can be wrapped and I have funding for that. So I think as object opportunity and funding mechanisms come together, absolutely.
I just want to say something about this.
Yes.
Don't become Coeur d'Alene,
Yeah.
where every street corner has a wrap on it. And I think it takes away sometimes from buildings that are historical and it gets a little corny. I'm sorry to say, but I really do think we need to be careful about that. Also, what we put on them. I think the ones that you've done are very, very professional. I like the ones on Schweitzer. I think that's good, located by the winery. And I think that they're also the ones that are out when you drive in town. So I just don't want it to get like, and I've always felt this way about wraps on camp. Yeah. I always felt this way, but I just think we need to be very cautious and not have the town become a wrapped art. Because it's going to be spaces for public art. And I think that we need to be very careful when we put wraps.
And know that these can be moved. They're not permanent locations. So we could put them in a park or, throughout the community. We would be working with our Parks Department on best placement. And then I would just need, if we did move them, I want to make sure STCU knew that too.
Like in the parking lot downtown for the arts and crafts fair, would be great. I'll have to say, that one over there has got this on it, that you can find them. I don't know why people
Yes.
have a hard time finding them, but so there's lots of good places to put them. I just am against having hundreds of these things.
Yeah,
wrapped
definitely.
around.
I think it's a good wayfinding concept. It will be fun to present this to the Sustainability Committee because I think it also teaches people how to, use the trash cans, I suppose. And these bins are really interesting. Like in some countries, they actually talk, like you can program them to say things like, ooh, yummy.
Well, they have the one in Spokane that was done by the nun.
Is that the goat?
Oh,
The goat is amazing.
People put trash and it's a goat.
And the kids love it too.
And the kids love it. It's not,
Yeah.
it's just.
It's iconic now.
Yeah, oh, yeah. She's no longer with us, but she did that goat. It's infamous.
I'll have to look that up.
I love this. I love this idea and getting kids just involved in the city.
Yes.
Ages 4 to 12 is awesome, and this is art, it's done by a 12-year-old or 6-year-old, but it's art. It's our, future artists. So for, like you said, Heather, to get the, $150 as a kid, a paid artist as a kid, that's
I know, right?
Oh, man, we did this in Sandpoint Island.
Hey, man, let's put a picture on it, be like.
It's a good way to get through our program.
Is there anything else then we need to keep moving with this?
So we'll make the revisions and then I'll send it through leadership for a final and then to you guys as well. And I'll work with the procurement department to understand the date for the RFP and just make sure it's in alignment with everything.
Okay.
Love it. So we'll release this in spring.
great.
Good, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on then, we're going to have a presentation of the proposed location for a new public art piece, Natural Wavelength.
Okay, so we had a very successful silver box cycle, just as a reminder, that's the 3 stanchions downtown. It's a rotating art opportunity for artists and they receive a stipend. Traditionally, it's a year-long period of time and each artist gets $1,000. The artwork is for sale. We recently did a cycle that's just for 6 months, so we can have a rotation in the springtime with a stipend of 500. From the last cycle, our artist Ursula Roma ended up donating the art piece to our public art collection, which was really exciting. Right now, the beautiful piece is sitting in my office, which is not serving it well. We,
Not right there.
it will be. We just received all of the appropriate paperwork to receive the donation. She signed it. So that next step is a placement. And until we figure out the perfect location downtown, I had this idea of using stanchions. I would use these in the museum. They're just these very simple, beautiful boxes that we can display art on. And I found one that had the perfect footprint for Ursula's. And I went ahead and ordered a second one to be able to have a local artist display a piece on. The proposed location is in the corner right by the fire doors. I talked to the Chief Gilcrease and he thought that was a great location as well. It's very much out of the way. There's security cameras on it and the police are just across the way as well. If whoever wants to display their pieces on the one stanchion, they just have to understand that we're not responsible if anything gets stolen. And so what do you guys think about having Ursula's piece out there, kind of a new community showcase corner?
Oh, that's cool.
Fantastic.
When the 3 people come to city council.
They'll love it. In addition to that, I actually have a larger story that I've worked on for a while now. Here's my chamber's lobby presentation. So we just went over this. I'm so glad you guys are excited about that. And then there will also be a plaque on there talking about the new piece and how it's a part of our permanent art collection. Wouldn't it be fun to continue to have more donations and like each year and have a new piece showcased? There's also a new decorum sign that will be placed for just understanding how to function in chambers during meetings. And then we have these new historical lobby signs that are part of our wayfinding. It was a partnership that I did with the museum. This is a history on the Sandpoint fire, which will be on this really neat curved wall close to the fire department. And then there's a history of City Hall. Yeah, going all the way back to the 1900s when it was an apple box. And then over here, we'll have the history of police. So I actually just got those done. They're a little smaller than the windows, so they're a really nice size. We had Tamarack printing do them. They are beautiful. And I'm really excited. So you'll see a lot of kind of like a full refresh of the lobby area with placemaking and art. Glad you guys are excited about it. So I think people will love it.
Well, we've always actually talked for a long time about what this space could be, whether it could be a gallery space or things like that. I really love the information on that you put together on fires, City Hall and police. I think that's very appropriate. And also the mayors, I love the new mayor, framed mayors out there. So I think it's gonna be great to have the art out there as well.
It was really fun to do a partnership with the museum. I know part of their mission is bringing history outside of the walls. And so we're showing off the museum here in our local history, and then we're showing off our local artists as well in the corner. So we're doing it.
Awesome.
Thank you all. I appreciate the feedback.
That does have an action item on that. So
Make it official.
do we need to have a motion?
Kate
to-
McAllister. I move, I know, I move that we approve the new community art corner in the lobby of the chambers.
I second. Really great.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call vote. Kate?
Kate McAllister, yes.
Rick?
Aye.
Yes, Will.
Barry?
Carol.
Hi, Keely.
And I, Ellie. Mike?
Aye.
Excellent. Well, it's unanimous. Motion passes.
I look forward to sharing that with Ursula. I think she'll be really excited. Thank you
Yes,
all.
tell her thank you for us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on then to culture, community character hour. Next up is the Ice Age floods.
So we don't have Hannah on the commission any longer, but I have a standing meeting with her weekly, and she's still the co-host on the community character hours. So just to let the new individuals know, it's just a fun way to share our history, and it's interesting to see the parallels between the 1900s and today. Like some of the same issues we're facing were happening at the beginning of this area becoming a town. And now I can just like talk about you so openly, Will, that you were the secret weapon and Dan Evans behind the show. So Dan and Will would do all the research and provide that to Hannah and I. And we're so thankful and we're looking forward to them continuing to support it. But so a big subject last year was about tourism, and that kind of happened organically with the first episode and plating. And then everyone in the 1900s was like, how do we get people to Sandpoint? And so we ended up landing on Schweitzer. And it's kind of funny because that episode, which was in December, so many people were like, were you on the radio? Were you talking about Schweitzer? So it brought a lot of awareness, which was fun. So now we're in the new year, we're going all the way back and we're starting out with Ice Age floods. So it's the history of why we're so beautiful, right? With like the polders and the lakes, and then we'll go into talking about industry and from our natural resources, why we are the way we are. And we're going to start this year bringing on special guests.
Oh.
And we're hoping to have Tony Lewis, he's the foremost in the area on Ice Age floods. We're going to do a little interview with him and then kind of go into talking about that prehistoric area and the flood myth and all the things that have happened. I'm really excited about it.
And I'm
Funny
sure you
scientific.
know about the books that Keoki published.
Yes, we're getting a lot of information from the local authors that did incredible research on it. And Hannah came up with this really neat tie. There was back in the day, and I'm trying to remember, excuse me, who the author was, but he was a scientist that had a theory and everybody was like, no, that's not correct. And he was kind of shamed in the scientific world. And then come to find out he is like correct and a foremost. Yeah, but it's super interesting. And I learn a lot with every show. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to share it.
So just as a housekeeping thing on the community hour, do we have a page on our website that have these links?
We have a lot of great opportunities on our new website.
All right, maybe
It's
we can
just-
make that a priority. I
Yeah.
will get the links for you from
Thank you.
the
That'd be
radio
fabulous.
website because they are hard to find. And then if we can get that up, I think that'd be great because then people can
Yes.
share it. Because
Yeah.
I share them as links on my Facebook page and I don't know if anybody, I don't know how the algorithms work, but I think if we had a landing page
Mhm.
on the website.
We definitely talked about that, and the city's landing page being the core one that KRFY could link to and the museum could link to as well. It's just a matter of sitting down and being able to have the time to build that out. Staring at Rick. You love technology.
Isn't it fun being the only tech guy?
All right, great.
Reach out if you need me.
Oh, I appreciate
I'm
that.
always around.
All right, the next item then on culture is a presentation on story walk at Travers Park.
So this is kind of a really exciting thing that popped up. Sorry, I've got a little frozen screen here. So we had a couple come to us who wanted to donate money for a project to celebrate and honor their aunt and uncle. And so we were thinking about different projects that we were hoping to make come to life. And we all had agreed that the new Traverse Park, particularly the playground, was an amazing opportunity to celebrate authors with like the whole Patrick McManus theme, Into the Woods. We have the beautiful illustrated panels that we did an art call for with Lori Reed. And so a story walk would be so appropriate in that area. And I proposed the idea of the walk to these sponsors, and they thought it was brilliant. So I additionally felt like this was a perfect opportunity for a partnership with the library to manage the story walk.
I'll tell you about that.
Yeah, and they're like 100% yes. And in fact, I got organically invited to this meeting yesterday that was really neat, and it's called Bonner Story Walk. So there's a story walk in Dover and there's a story walk in Ponderay. And then the library has a story walk, but our story walk is going to be a part of this greater group that's being supported by Connexie Land Trust. And I didn't even know about this group. And so they invited us to be a part of it. And what we're going to do is just make sure that we have synergy with like branding, and then we can cross advertise our story walks together. And it was a really neat meeting. Everyone was really excited. It was fun that all of our cities were working together. And then you guys know where like my mind went. I'm like, what else can we do together? You know? And so I'm very excited about it. This is what I'm hoping to get. You've seen many different varieties of story walks, but I think an all metal one would be really important just to make sure that it's stable. The one out in Dover is like plexi and wood, and it just needs repairs over time. It's a very easy apparatus to open and close it. I had these quoted out. And they fit within the budget, and we would have a little plaque honoring the individual sponsoring the walk. My greater vision for this, going back to our master plan, would be to highlight local artists and excuse me, authors, but definitely illustrators as well, right? So I think it'd be good for our story walk to have a set of criteria. And I don't have necessarily funding at the moment for it, but it would be really neat to do this with an artist stipend as well. So I don't know if it would be quarterly, but I think it's just another opportunity to showcase our local artists who are our authors in this case, and then also celebrate them with an artist stipend too. What do you guys think?
I think it's great. The library, when they were doing the garden, and then things all happened at the library. So I don't know if they're doing now with their walk, but kids walk down to get to high school, walk down that path. That'd be a perfect place, and also to put some things in about some books like that have been written about this area, students' books, and also inside the garden, we wanted to put these maybe smaller ones about what plant was growing there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so really, I think the library's been for a long time interested in doing that kind of thing. I've not been with it for a while, but anyway, but
Yes.
there's some real opportunities.
So Suzanne Davis she's kind of an expert on these story walks, which I'm sure you worked with her on this. So in fact, I asked her, and I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but there's a new individual at the library. They have a whole new team. That's really great. I would like them to come out with our parks team and look at the potential areas and tell us where they think an appropriate spot would be, and then I'll bring that information back to you guys, and you guys can be a
And I know that they
recommendation.
thought about it. I don't know about the new librarian, but I know that they were working on it before that. So that they was thinking about that walkway and also, like I said, identifying some native plants that are growing in the garden.
Yes. Yes, and at Travers, that is a scientific garden, and those all are native. So I'm working with Maeve on a placemaking plan and a science plan and a whole signage plan to wrap up Travers and talk about sustainability at that park too. So that will be to come, and I love that. So I have this as a motion because I just like to move this forward, and these will be created in by our parks team, so they will be permanent. And so next steps will be just definitely making sure, I'm working on the project scope with the final presentation of the individual sponsoring it. But from you guys, I think having that set of criteria is really important for our walk. And then you guys are okay with the partnership of them managing it? Are you sure you don't want to?
Let them do it.
Who is this, Kate?
Suzanne Davis will be managing this with the library. So
Yeah.
she said 16 signs, almost 17 is what you want, because most books traditionally have at least 16 pages.
Okay.
And I asked her about like the author's rights, to the books. And she said, as long as you buy the book and you do the full story, they believe that it's fine. And then this company, and I have to do a procurement process for ordering the signs, but they just do Storywalk signs. They do a really attractive back plate of color, which I think is really cool. So whatever size page you put in there, it has like a border around it. And I'm gonna do a green color that matches the same green color that goes on the wayfinding sign that we have out there, and the benches that we're gonna have out there too. So there's gonna be a nice, cohesive look to it. So are you guys okay moving forward with this project and the partnership?
Is each sign one story, or are all the signs telling one story?
I think that's up to us. Traditionally, it's featuring a book. So it's 16 pages from one book, and the child engages and looks forward to understanding the next page of the book, and that keeps them walking forward onto a leading path.
And would the books be changed out every so often, or then that would be the library's job to be
That's correct.
choosing the story and installing?
They'd be managing it. I think that it would make sense that management was with synergy with what the other communities are doing. So when they change out the story, then they're like new stories at Ponderay and Dover and Sandpoint. Like I really like that synergy between the other communities and all of our story walks together. And again, that's partnered and managed by Connexia Land Trust and the library.
Are you doing anything in Clark Fork?
That's out of my world. I'm just.
I know it is.
I didn't hear anything from the group. It's definitely a conversation with Suzanne.
Yeah.
All right, so we just need a motion that we are in agreement that we would like to advance this project. Is that what we're asking for?
So moved.
All right, Kate makes that motion. Any second?
Second.
Carol Diener seconds. All in favor? No. Kate?
Kate, yay.
Rick? Will?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Carol? Keely?
Yes.
Ellie? Yes. Motion passes.
These are some good ones today.
Yeah.
And I'm hitting you guys all with some great things
Yeah.
over here.
You're supposed to start low at the beginning.
You know me.
Moving on to historic
Gonna get-
preservation.
Yeah, okay.
Heather's going to present a CLG grant opportunity.
And I apologize.
And I apologize, I
Yeah.
missed Mike, I'm sorry. Mike?
Yeah. Okay, so there's a typo on my behalf. I had CEG, it's a CLG grant. So that's our SHPO Certified Local Government Grant. And just as a reminder, as a city, I think it's 40 in the state of Idaho that are certified local governments. And so we have the opportunity to participate in this grant. The grant is due at the end of the month. And I have had the green light from my leadership to be able to move forward on it. I just wanted to run it by all of you. This is a really amazing opportunity, because this is our opportunity to move forward on a local historic district. So that would be historic design review for the first time in Sandpoint. And what we would be asking for from this grant would be support for the design review process. So this, all of you would, well, traditionally, so we'd be adhering to the state and federal regulations for how we would function with our local historic district. There's set regulations for that, and I can walk you guys through that at a different meeting, of course. But there's a review committee, and traditionally it is the city's commission, and this is a local municipal code ordinance that's developed. And so there's a process of how contributing buildings within an identified district would have, they'd have to go through to ensure that essentially the historic character is preserved. And there's so many different ways to do a historic design review process, and also figuring out what that sweet spot looks like for our community, what makes sense to the people that own the buildings, that are having to function in the buildings, and how we can preserve our historic fabric downtown too. And that's where we would hire consultants to help support us through that process, that are experts at that, creating that foundation. So we and the planning department can successfully move forward with this, along with a lot of community input as well. So the ask would be, the fee would be probably around $20,000, and we would ask SHPO to provide $10,000 of support, and then we would do matching in kind of $10,000 of work to be able to achieve the match for that grant.
That's between the staff and the commission.
Yes, so it would be all of your hours. There's a volunteer hour rate that we would work off of, and like you said, Ellie, staff as well. So it would be planning staff, and then my time, all of those salaries and so forth.
Excellent. This is big.
Yeah, this is huge.
This is something you've been working towards for many years.
It's correct.
Are you getting the volunteer wage from independent sector? Because that tells you they value each state's wage. So I think Idaho is almost $30 an hour.
Okay,
per volunteer.
perfect. I will run that figure by you. I know it's like posted on
Yeah.
a site. I haven't
Yeah.
checked in lately, but yes. So I'll, there'll be a point where I need to cue all of you for understanding what your hours and contributions are. And so it's always a good idea to log your hours. And especially with our working group too, that works together on a weekly basis. So pretty much with this grant, it's just, I'm developing that scope of work. And I have reached out to 3 different firms that specialize in helping support the historic design review process. I've also reached out to some local historians, and I'm going to have a phone call with the State Historic Preservation Office as well, just to make sure that we're all in alignment. But I'm very excited about this.
These.
Okay,
Any
so
other questions or comments? This is an action item, so we're gonna make a motion in favor of moving forward with this.
I'll make that motion. Julie Gray.
Excellent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Kate seconds. Let's start with you, Mike. Mike?
I'm good.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Will?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes. And Haley, yes.
Yes.
100%.
Ellie? Yes. Motion passes.
perfect. And because of the amount, this is not a grant that has to be approved by council. And so it's just going to be an internal. We do.
So
You give me the
threshold.
your initials.
correct.
And it wasn't CEG. what is it?
CLG, sorry. I'm so used to the certified enhancement grant, which is through the State Historic Preservation Office. It just gets a little confusing. We do that for our walking tour. Thank you all so much. I'll keep you posted as we move forward, and I would love to make a little map too, a visual, because there's so much to wrap your mind around about like, and even some what other cities have done too, and kind of show you the different processes and what this could look like or what's that extra step. And yeah, if we are able to get the funding and we have the bandwidth, it's going to be a very busy time for all of us with community engagement and awareness. It's just the beginning.
I'd love to see some success stories, some Idaho success stories.
I think there's 10 that have historic design review. State of Idaho.
All right, well, let's move on then to the update on the residential call for information and the historic walking tour brochure.
Okay, so Will, you brought this one up. Let me share my screen. There we go. So this was a partnership that we did with the museum, sorry, to help increase it was kind of a two-pronged thing. We wanted to support the museum in increasing the residential historic home archives. But we also wanted to make sure, as we're revising our walking tour brochure, which we see as our current landmark program, that we are including houses that are significant or that have gone through a great rehabilitation process. And we did it through a Google form. We did a lot of outreach. I apologize, guys, my thing isn't wanting to share. And so we're kind of at that point where we had talked about putting flyers out, but unfortunately, just with the holidays, things got kind of crazy, right? And so where we are at is we need to wrap it up. What had happened with this program is it brought a lot of awareness out there. We had a beautiful article in the Sandpoint magazine. I have had a lot of people call and want to know more about their homes. And so that's been really successful. So I feel very good about it. But what we want to do now is we want to kind of do a little canvassing of the community, and just with looking at different things, looking at their brochure, making sure that we are including everything. If we find that there's a property that's really important, we figure out how to contact them and make sure that if they want it to be in the brochure, they have that opportunity.
Is this the door hanger thing?
Yes. I mean, those rubber bands have been in the back of my car.
I know.
months.
Yeah, we talked about this. a while ago.
Yeah, every meeting.
I think you were leading this.
So let's do it.
You've been really busy. I've been busy. So
It's okay. We got each other.
the good intentions are there.
We're there.
And now we're gonna wrap it up. So we're gonna figure it out. And again, that would be houses that are in alignment with our district that we have on there already. To be expanding it at this point, I think would be a little difficult with the residential, but what we can do is put notable remarks on it. Like, oh, these houses, there's houses in the forest area that were from Farragut, or like if we find something really significant. So I'd like to spend 2 or 3 work meetings wrapping our mind around that and figuring out what those houses, are. And then just as a reminder, we did do an expansion of the brochure by adding City Beach in there, which has so much cultural significance to it, and then a new cover. So what we're going to do is get that to final. And the goal is to be able to have all of our brochures printed and ready for our walking tours, which will be as soon as the snow melts, right? Or comes. I don't know. So this is a project, just as a reminder too, that was sponsored by Sura, which was really exciting, and we're using our downtown funds for it. Unfortunately, we're not able to get that matching grant of $2,500 from the Certified Enhancement Grant Program through the State Historic Preservation Office. It's just a very competitive time right now, but we do have all of the funding from Sura, which will be around $9,000 to do like a 5-year printing of the brochures.
Excellent. All right, so we're gonna work on our.
We're gonna
work
wrap
team,
it up.
And we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah. So we
So-
have a standing 9 o'clock, Monday morning work team that we do. And, traditionally.
We've been on hold
Yeah.
for a month and a half. or
Yeah.
so, But we're gonna hit a hard
Hitting
day,
it
another
hard.
year.
Is there a certain number of commission members that can be present?
Four.
Four. So like we come and there's already 4 members, the last one to come gets booted out.
I can.
Gotta watch.
I'm there every time.
And we played around, we've tried doing like an arts meeting and then, a historic preservation, and it just got to be too much meeting wise. So I think having that standing work meeting and we can pivot it to work on art, culture, or historic preservation is really a great way to go. So we're gonna be getting that up and running this upcoming Monday at 9 o'clock. And I think just focusing on wrapping up the residential call and the historic would be perfect. And then if you don't have time to make it to that meeting and you want to be involved, and I know both of you had talked about it, what we can do is take that project and piece it all out and then say, okay, you can work on this and we can figure out.
Taken at those meetings.
No, it's
Okay.
not recorded. It's not a public meeting. So it's really a great way to dig in and get a lot of work done on that.
Well, I was just thinking if there were notes about the meetings, then we could be sent them and catch up. I get
Yeah.
what you're saying.
I'll fill you in.
Well, I take.
City open
personal
on
notes.
Martin Luther King.
Yeah. It's good. It's gone.
So starting the next, sorry about that.
Then it's President's Weekend. No, I'm just kidding.
Not this Monday.
That's right.
We could do it on Tuesday if we wanted to, because we need to kind of get going on it. Do you want to do this upcoming Tuesday? Okay, and, does anybody else want to be a part of this work meeting on Tuesday at 9 o'clock?
Maybe I was just chatting with Ellie for a minute, like if we do worry about the quorum
Okay.
issue, like if there's notes that Ellie takes that she feels comfortable sending to us, like I just want to know what's going on, I guess. And
Sure.
if you have one that's arts centered, so happy to be there.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And what we do with every, all the work that we do, it's always presented back to this commission meeting. So that you're always kept in the loop on it. It's just kind of working on those nuts and bolts. And then we talk about each project here, at the final meeting.
Okay, so tell me again.
Monday at 9 o'clock. And for this meeting, we're just focusing on wrapping up the residential call. So it's on historic information and so forth. But we'll definitely be pivoting and doing arts too. So we'll let you know.
I'm in a meeting from 9 to 11. on
Okay.
Monday, so.
But we'll break it up and we'll get a plan of attack and then we can send an email out too and break it all out. Say, you know, which pieces do you want?
So would it help if I came so I can get kind of indoctrinated here?
Well,
Let's have a separate meeting and I can sit down with you and we'll maybe go over everything, and kind of get you up to speed on that. That'd be perfect. I love it.
all right. Any other questions on that? All right, then let's move on to the Commissioners Roundtable. And I'll start. I just want to celebrate Heather. You know, this last year, we've done so much. And we would never have gotten help
You
as
ready?
our pivot point and our man on staff, woman.
Our energy source to keep us all motivated.
I just want to say thank you
That's so
and
kind.
a great commission and love working with everybody and you especially.
Thanks, Ellie. Working with all of you is it's the highlight to my job for sure. So. You guys are amazing.
Okay. Any other highlights from next months?
We actually registration is open now for LPO reps, spring semester. So if you have any kiddos or teens that are looking to study some drama and do some fun stuff on stage, classes start February 3rd.
Got one that's hooked now.
Yay!
Yeah, you can. Jump into.
Yeah, we won't let her.
First.
What's the age group?
So youth drama is ages 8 to 11, and then teen drama is 12 to 17.
And when's the time period? Is it like right after school or?
Yeah, it's from 4 to 6, Mondays and Wednesdays. Monday is youth, Wednesday is teen.
Who's sponsoring that? You? Okay.
If you have any ideas, let me know, because the more scholarships we can get, the better. We do payment plans, but more sponsors we can get, the more scholarships we can offer to kids.
Mike, you have anything happening?
There's a lot going on, but not anything really particular for this group. Yeah, I've been trying to think of anything, but no, I don't have anything. Thanks,
All
so.
right.
That's fine.
Thanks for being
Yep.
here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, if there's nothing else, then let's adjourn. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.